Good day, learners! Welcome to our second lesson. It's about classical arts. Today's objectives are 1. Identify distinct characteristics of arts during the different art periods. 2. Identify representative art forms from various art periods. 3. Create artworks guided by techniques and styles of Western classical arts traditions. Before we start our lesson, let's have our pretest. In this activity, please read and choose the letter of the correct answer. You will only be given 5 seconds to choose the correct answer. Are you ready? Let's start. Number 1. Paintings during the classical era were most commonly found in A. Vases, panel, and tomb. B. Caves. C. Churches. D. Museums. If you answered A, that's correct. Very good. 2. The method of painting water-based pigments on a freshly applied plaster, usually on wall surfaces. Letter A, encaustic. B, fresco. C, vase painting. And D, panel painting. If you answered B, that's correct. Good job. 3. These are red-figured pottery named after the place where it was found. Letter A, encaustic. B, panel painting. C, church style. D, fresco. If you answered C, that's correct. Bravo. 4. The method of Greek painting developed by shipbuilders who used hot wax to fill the cracks of the ship. A, church style. B, pale-like. C, crater. D, encaustic. If you answered D, that's correct. Very good. 5. Paintings on flat panels of wood. It can either be small, single, or several panels joined together. Letter A, fresco. B, encaustic. C, church style. D, panel painting. If you answered D, that's correct. Good job. Before we start, let's have a review about our previous lesson. First question. What has influenced Egyptian art? From the pictures on the following slide, list down the characteristics of Egyptian art form. These pictures show the painting on the wall inside the pyramid. It shows mythological representations and scenes of the everyday activities of the Egyptian. Next. These pictures show the sculptures on the walls inside the pyramid or the statues of seated pharaoh inside the pyramid. Next. These pictures show Sphinx and pyramid. As you can see, the structure has thick sloping walls with few openings to obtain stability. Second question. Why is the man stick-like and the bison is rendered with such accurate detail from the pictures below? As you can see, artists from prehistoric are better at accurately depicting the way four-legged animals and with correct proportion. Just like this. let's start our lesson about classical arts. Let's talk about Greek paintings. Paintings during the classical era were commonly found in vases, panels, and tomb. It depicts natural figures with dynamic compositions. Most of the subjects were battle scenes, mythological figures, and everyday scenes. It reveals linear perspective and naturalist representations. These are the common methods of Greek painting. 1. Fresco. Method of painting water-based pigments on freshly applied plaster, usually on wall surfaces. Colors are made of ground powder, pigments mixed in pure water, dried and set with plaster to become a permanent part of the wall. Next, encaustic. Developed to used by Greek builders who used the hot wax to fill the cracks of the ship. 3. Vase painting. Kirch style, also referred to as Kirch vases, are red figured pottery named after the place where it was found. Bell-like, wine container, lecanis, a low bowl with two horizontal handles and low broad foot. Lebes gamikos with high handles and lid used to carry bridal bath. Crater, bowl used for mixing wine and water. 4. Panel painting. Paintings on flat panels of wood. It can be either small, single-pieced, or panels joined together. And lastly, mosaic. It is an art process where an image is created using an assemblage of small pieces of colored glass, stones, or other materials. This is an example of vase painting. This particular art is called amphora vase form, or the wine storage jar. Now let's discuss about Greek sculptures. Early Greek sculptures were tense and stiff. Their bodies were hidden within enfolding robes. One of the most popular styles of Greek sculpture was the Hellenistic style. Hellenistic denotes preference in sculpture for more elaborated patterns, mannered arrangements of figures and groups, and an emphasis on the representation of movement for dramatic effects. This is an example of Greek sculpture. Now, let's talk about the Greek architecture. Temples consisted of central shrine or room in an aisle surrounded by rows of columns. These buildings were designed in one of three architectural styles or orders, just like what you see in this picture. This particular architecture is called Parthenon. Now let's move on and talk about the Roman arts. Let's first discuss the painting in Roman arts. Roman paintings portray rituals, myths, landscapes, still life, and scenes of daily activities of the Romans. This development of landscape paintings are the main innovation of Roman painting from Greek painting. Now, let's talk about the Roman sculptures. The Romans were avid collectors and imitators of Greek sculpture. They did not attempt complete with the freestanding Greek words of history of mythology, but rather they produced reliefs in the great Roman triumphal columns with continuous narrative reliefs around. Architecture in Roman arts. Roman architecture continued the development of the Greek classical style of architecture, but with quite different results. Romans built great engineering works, roads, canals, bridges, and aqueducts. Now, let's see if you've learned from our lesson. These are the things that you need to accomplish. You have your art production. You may use these following materials. First, inexpensive mugs or flower vase, sequins, colored glitters, small colored buttons or beads, and flat wall enamel. Here's how you are going to do your art production. Study the design of Greek-Roman vases. Use the design as your guide when you paint your mugs or vases with enamel of your desired color. For variation, add sequins, glitters, small buttons, or beads while the paint is still wet. Use a pair of tweezers to put small decoration. Greek and Roman principles and styles in art and literature generally associated with harmony, restraint, and adherence to recognized standards of form and craftsmanship. Classicism invokes those characteristics with the art of antiquity, harmony, clarity, restraint, and idealism. Classicism asserts the importance of wholeness and unity. Both ancient Greek and ancient Roman reflected the unity of purpose and design. During pandemic, the world called for global unity. Now is the time for unity. Before we end our lesson, let's test your knowledge about our lesson today. Please read the questions and choose the correct answer. Number 1. The Romans used the following materials for architecture. Letter A. Stone, marble, and mosaic. B. Sand, metal, and stone. C. Papyrus, metal, and panels. D. Stone, marble, and clay. 2. The philosophy of Classicism. A. Biblical. B. Astrology. C. Idealism. D. Grandiosity. Number 3. The method of using frescos in tomb or wall paintings. Letter A. Panel painting. B. Mosaic. C. Tempera and encaustic. D. Vase painting. 4. It is a process where the image is created using an assemblage of small pieces of colored glass, stones, or other materials. A. Mosaic. B. Fresco. C. Vase painting. D. Panel painting. 5. Mosaic is used for A. Decorative art or interior decorations. B. Cave art. C. Abstraction. C. None of the above. That's all for today's lesson. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for listening. Bye!